The fourth annual Africa Oil and Power Conference happened in Cape Town, South Africa last week, and the aim of the gathering was to promote the energy sector to ensure greater economic growth on the continent. The 3-day conference brings together Africa's oil, gas, and power leaders to facilitate key conversations on the substantial role the energy sector has in empowering other sectors and building a thriving and competitive economies. One of the keynote speakers was the highly influential oil and gas lawyer Ayuk, executive chairman of the African Energy Chamber and CEO of Centurion Law Group. He has also authored a book about this particular industry, and he now joins us on the line. Welcome to Channel Africa, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Such an honor to be with you.
Now, let's start it off here. Africa is starved for a diverse and clean energy mix. Tell us about the state of oil and gas on the continent.
The state of oil and gas in Africa is picking up. It is getting stronger than before. You had a market where you had a downturn in 2015. There were very low investments in Africa, not just oil and gas, but the entire energy sector. It has picked up, but it has not picked up to the point where we would want it. But there have been some really good things happening, especially when you talk about clean energy and potential gas. If you look at Mozambique, $50 billion of FID. Mozambique was a country where nobody ever thought there would be gas. Everybody only thought about Nigeria, Angola, Equatorial Guinea, and Congo, Gabon. Look at Senegal, almost $5 billion in FID. There will be floating LNG, which is going to be a new technology, which Africa will become center stage of that. You're looking in South Africa, a place where people thought there would never be oil and gas discoveries. Total has discovered a potential 1 billion barrels of condensate, which would include gas, a big level of gas in it. So there are a lot of movements, but a lot more needs to be done, and there's a lot of potential in Africa.
All right. Now, every industry suffers a chronic shortage of inclusivity, particularly women. Tell us why it is important to have greater inclusivity, especially within your industry.
Well, if you look at the Africa oil and gas industry, women, we have to be, not just Africa, the entire oil and gas industry, we have to be ashamed of what we have done in this industry when it comes to including women. Women in the next 10 years would be 60% of the African population, but today you have less than 5% of women working in oil and gas. That is not acceptable, and we have to start engaging to change that. And to bring it home, it's fairly easy. Women don't buy milk cheaper. Women don't pay rent cheaper. Women don't buy food cheaper. And most African households are run by women. Mm-hmm. And why it doesn't take anything away from us when we have more inclusive policies and job protection policies that gives women a chance to grow. And sometimes we have to go beyond complaining, and that's what I try to do with my book, was offer solutions that can fix it. And some solutions we see is, we start with education, we start with trainings in science, in engineering, and we have to have special programs. The oil industry should pay a lot more attention in that, and providing scholarships and providing mentorships. But also we have to look at a workplace that is male-dominated and makes it scary for women to come in. So deal with issues like harassment, make it easier for women to go on mat leave and come right back, and also be ready to deal with issues with regards to promotion and pay equality and pay raises. All those issues, if you address that in Africa's most prosperous industry, the energy sector, you are already fixing problems in Africa that we are not fixing.
And one of the issues that often discourage investment in any sector is certainty brought about by policy stability. How much of this is a factor in oil and gas?
It is a factor. Most of the members of the African Energy Chamber, which are African companies, they are worried about stability in the industry. We want governments to give us what is a clear policy, and you maintain that policy. because uncertainty is the gravest disease in this industry. People want to know that the policy, when it comes to taxes, when it comes to royalties, when it comes to local content or BEE, when it comes to exploration, this is the policy, and everybody should work on compliance. What people don't like is that you have one minister or one bureaucrat come in and have a new policy, and then 2 years later there's a new policy. It scares investment, it scares finances. And today we vote with our dollars. And everybody, I mean, the African Unity Chamber, we were able to get commitments of $1.4 billion into the African energy sector a few months ago out of China. But none of that is going to happen if we don't have a stability in policy, because we want to see that we can create jobs and we can make sure everyday people in Africa are benefiting from these natural resources.
Now, despite being a strong resource contributor, Africa has been accused of not participating in OPEC. Why is it so important that the continent takes part?
Well, when it comes to when you talk about exporting, you have to export. When you have those who invest, they bring in money from Europe, from America, from China. They come in for the resources. So part of the deals you're going to do, you would have to give them some kind of stability that they can take their resources to market. A big problem in Africa is that we have to start learning how to put skin in the game, and we have to start paying bills. You're right. Why are we exporting gas to China and to India when we can use that same gas to develop and industrialize Africa? One of the biggest problems, and you will see around African utilities, is that our governments just don't pay the bill. And because people want to pay the bills, and people do pay the bills, but there is an issue of mismanagement, there is an issue of corruption, there's an issue of poor governance, which sometimes we turn around and say, well, the industry. But if I'm going to provide you my gas into your power stations, I need you to pay me so that I can hire more people and I can provide you more gas. Mm-hmm. We have to start looking at LNG into Africa, getting gas to power African manufacturing, industrialization, mining plants, and going around Africa. If we don't do that, the Africa of tomorrow is going to be really sad, and we are going to be going out there begging Europeans and Chinese for aid. We have to use Africa gas to power Africa, because this continent is going to be 1.1, 1.2 billion people very soon. We cannot be a strong continent where we are importing all manufacturing products. So our products have to be used in Africa, develop our communities, and then we will start seeing better benefits and making sure that the finished products are helping our people.
Mm. Now, you also have a book out entitled Billions at Play, The Future of African Energy and Doing Deals. Tell us a little bit about this book.
I'm really happy about this project. It's still in the store, $29.99, and you can even get a Kindle version of $3.99 for my friends. Most of my friends say they are broke, so they want the Kindle version. They can get it. But I would tell you this. What I did in this book was to look at what is the future. What are you going to see in the energy industry happen in Africa 15 years from now? Where are we going when it comes to energy transition, when we're dealing with in an era of climate change? Where are we going when it comes to looking at empowering Africans? Where are we going when you look at gas issues? As we've always had a sacred relationship with our international partners, whether through colonial history or through business history. So looking at our relationship with Europe, with OPEC, looking at our relationship with the United States, and how do we rekindle that to make sure that it gets this industry prosperous. But we also have started dealing with countries where you never thought there would be gas. South Africa, it's a net importer. Mozambique, net importer. But now they would soon be net exporters if everything goes well. But we also challenge ourselves to look at the mindset where we think the only way for Africa to grow is to go out there and get aid and continue begging for money and begging for resources. More money goes out of Africa in flight capital from the energy sector than the aid money we reduce. So if we fix our governance issues, we can actually lower our dependence on aid and use our oil revenues to better everyday Africans. And this book, it's bold. I wouldn't make a lot of friends with this book, but it's real. I mean, today our people deserve to hear the tough realities and on what is happening. We can no longer sugarcoat these issues, because my children and your children, and a lot of people listening to this show, they need to have an Africa that they deserve and an Africa that works for them. And I think unless we start now, we'll be showing a poverty in ambition for that Africa that we want to succeed. And that's why I wrote this book. And I think the reception has been good. We hit Amazon bestseller last week, and we think we just have to continue. So it's not about a book; it's about a movement that we are building to make sure that Africa's future with energy works really well.
NJ, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's an honor for you to have me.
And that is NJ Ayuk, Executive Chairman of the African Energy Chamber and CEO of the Centurion Law Group.